Welcome to class. Today we are talking about the annotated bibliography for Composition 2. The annotated bibliography is worth 100 points. Please reference your course calendar for the due date, which we discussed during class. Note, you will not have a rough draft and you will not complete any peer reviews for this assignment. You will be reading from Arguing About Literature, Chapter 7. You will be referencing class lecture notes, and you will be referencing your notes from the library research orientation that you completed with the TCC librarian. Please download and use the annotated bibliography template, which is included in your research proposal document. There are several annotated bibliography student examples uploaded to Blackboard for you to look at and use as guides. An annotated bibliography does use MLA formatting. It uses the title Annotated Bibliography. Directly underneath the title, you will have your tentative working thesis statement for Essay 3, and then you will alphabetize all of your citations. Each citation has 3 body paragraphs. We will look more closely at these components here in just a few minutes. For this assignment, you will need to have 10 to 15 sources. These 10 to 15 sources must have 2 from your superheroes textbook, 1 from the course calendar. You could decide, if you like, to use a total of 3 from the superheroes textbook. Out of the 10 to 15, 4 sources must be new. 2 of those must be scholarly peer-reviewed sources, 1 must be a website, and 1 must be a popular text, such as a magazine, a newspaper, a blog, or an interview. So please keep this in mind as you're compiling your annotated bibliography for this assignment. Also keep in mind that you need to conduct the CRAAP test for all sources. Are your sources credible, reliable, accurate, applicable, and published recently? I have provided you with a link to the TCC librarian video regarding sources. After you have determined that the sources do pass the CRAAP test, you want to start thinking about how the sources are linked together and whether or not the sources agree, disagree, or agree and disagree with your working thesis claim. For me personally, as I'm conducting my research, I automatically create a citation. And then while I'm reading my sources, I begin to take notes on those sources. So it isn't a matter of reading a source and then going back 3 days later and creating an annotation. It's a matter of creating that annotation while you're reading. This will save you time. Now you may be thinking, hey, Professor, I'm still struggling with how to create citations. That's not a problem. 1, you can use me as a resource. 2, you can go to the TCC Writing Center for help, and you can also reference the Al Purdue citation help. I have provided links to both the Al Purdue and TCC here on the instruction sheet. Please feel free to use those. Oftentimes, students will ask me, how can they earn an A on this assignment? The way to earn an A is to make sure that you carefully proofread all of your work. Your assignment must be free from MLA citation errors. You must follow the formatting, which means that your citations are correct, your first and your second paragraphs are written in third person, and your third paragraph is written in first person because it is a reflective paragraph. You also want to have varied sources, and you want your sources to be academic. Now, following these instructions, I have provided for you an example of an annotated bibliography. It's just an excerpt, it's not a full one. If you would like to see full annotated bibliographies, please go to Blackboard and reference the student examples that I have uploaded for you. Now that we've discussed the instructions and the requirements for this assignment, let's go look at the PowerPoint slide and look further into detail regarding the components for an annotation. So we have gone over the instruction sheet. We have discussed the amount of sources that are required for this assignment, as well as the points that you will earn for this assignment. Let's look at the components of an annotated bibliography. It is conducted in MLA, meaning you have MLA formatting. I've created a template for you to use. This will help ease you into the assignment. Underneath the title, Annotated Bibliography, you will have your thesis statement for Essay 3. And then you will have the citations or the sources that you're using for your essay. Now, an annotated bibliography is similar to a works cited page. Both have an alphabetized list of sources. A works cited page only has the sources. An annotated bibliography has the source plus 3 body paragraphs. We're going to discuss those body paragraphs now. So the first component for an annotation is the citation. The second component is the summary paragraph. This paragraph is written in third person and it summarizes what the source is about. The third component is the analysis paragraph. Here you analyze the argument and you talk about how the author or the creators are effective in their argument. Next is the reflective paragraph. This paragraph is written in first person, unlike the summary and analysis paragraphs, which are written in third person. I find that many students will lose points because they confuse which person they're supposed to be writing in for their different paragraphs for their annotations. Please take care. Make sure you're writing in the appropriate person for your paragraphs. This will help your grade tremendously. Now that we've looked at the components of an annotated bibliography, let's go look at some student examples so that we can zoom in on the formatting and the expectations for the assignment. We've discussed the instructions, the amount of sources, and the assignment expectations for an annotated bibliography. Now let's look at some student examples. If you'll think back, I showed you Tess Payton's research proposal during class. This is her annotated bibliography that follows along with her research proposal. As you will note, it does have her name, it does have my name, it has the course ID, it has the date that she wrote it, and then of course she has the title. You can't see her header, but it is on there. It's just my picture is covering that up. Directly underneath the title, Annotated Bibliography, is the word thesis. There is a colon after the word thesis, and then she has a working thesis statement for her Essay 3. I have also uploaded an example of Tess's research paper. You can find that on Blackboard, and you can compare her research proposal, her annotated bibliography, and her Essay 3, and you can see the evolution of her research project. After her thesis, she hits the enter key once, and that places a space between the thesis and the first citation. The first citation is left justified. Let me scroll up a little for you. It is left justified. It is only one line, so you do not see a hanging indent on this citation. Her first body paragraph has a space between the citation and it. As you see, her first body paragraph is fully indented by a ½ inch. Let me zoom out so that you can see the formatting. So as you see, the entire paragraph is indented by a ½ inch. Between her first body paragraph and her second body paragraph, there is a space. Between the second body paragraph and the third body paragraph, there is a space as well. So if I were to zoom out even more so that you could take a look at her annotated bibliography, you can see that her next source is left justified. There is a space between her citation and her first body paragraph, a space between it and the next paragraph, and she keeps following that formatting. There is a space between the citations and there is a space between the body paragraphs. When you get to the last page of the assignment, you will see Tess's outline. So now let me zoom in on her outline. At the top of the page, she does have the title outline. Directly underneath that, she copied and pasted her working thesis statement. Then she uses Roman numerals for the paragraphs of her essay, and she has labeled each of those paragraphs. So for her introduction, she has a hook statement. Then she has her plan of development, which introduces the topic. Then she has her thesis statement. Roman numeral 2 would be the first body paragraph of her essay. Here she's not using full sentences. She didn't need more help or more guidance. She's just letting me know where her paper is going. And so you can go down and you can see how she has outlined her essay. You can also see her conclusion, and you can see that she provided a few more words because she wanted me to give some guidance on it. So now let's go back up to the top of the page. I should say to the top of the annotated bibliography. All right, so here we are. If I look at her first citation, I see that the creator is Bondi. Here is the title, The Many Meanings of Makeup, and is from the journal Horizons, and I can find the publication information, and that it is from page 14. So let's go see if our first paragraph is written in third person. Bondi's many claims are that people's decision whether or not to wear makeup can be influenced by both personal and political reasons, and there are multiple perspectives that can be taken in regards to makeup. She opens with a statement from recording artist Alicia Keys regarding her resentment about perception and the pressure women face to make themselves physically attractive. Bondi comments that many view the act of wearing makeup as practice that is harmful to feminism. She says, quote, "Wearing makeup is often viewed as antithetical to feminism by women who believe that rejecting the trappings of hyperfemininity is a political act," end quote. So here, she's able to literally copy and paste this quote into her essay 3. And that is one of the purposes of an annotated bibliography, is for you to think about the source, to think about what the argument is saying, and for you to find some quotes that you think would be beneficial to your essay 3. It will save you writing time. So as you can see, she definitely is within third person during her summary paragraph, and she does summarize the source. If we move into her second body paragraph, this is the analysis paragraph. So let's read and see whether or not she analyzes the argument. This article is relatively recent, having been published in the summer of 2017. Renee Bondi has taught women's and gender studies and thus appears to be an acceptable source. So here, Tess is using the CRAAP test, and she is determining that it is recent and that this person is credible due to their field of study. She continues to analyze the source, so she is meeting the objective for the second body paragraph, which is to analyze the argument to determine whether or not the source passes the CRAAP test, and Tess does all of these things within this paragraph. Let's look at the last paragraph, which is to be written in first person. This article is a good example of a source I may use positively and negatively. It brings up different positive associations with makeup and then often clarifies these examples by showing the negative side. I may use this dichotomy to show how makeup can celebrate diversity and self-expression, while also being something people should keep a critical eye on, lest it play into a strict perfectionistic standard that all women must adhere to. The article points out how men in ancient Egypt wore makeup right alongside the women. I may use this example to tie into my point about how men shouldn't be afraid of appearing feminine. So she does write in first person for her reflective paragraph. She is determining how she can and cannot use the source and how the source would rate on the continuum of opinion. There are some errors within this paragraph that I would like to discuss. Here is one of them. She says the article points out. The article doesn't do anything. The article is not sentient, it's not living. It is the author that is making the point. So please make sure that you're not saying that the article or the movie is doing something. It's always the author, the creators, the director, the screenwriters, the performer, the songwriter, the poet. Those are the people who are making the argument, so please bear that in mind. Also, she has used a contraction, and you're not supposed to use contractions within my course. Other professors may let you do that, but I prefer that you do not. So there are a few minor errors, but overall this is a wonderful example of how to create an annotation. Let's go back to our PowerPoint and look at the components of an annotation. You have a citation, you have a summary paragraph, you have an analysis paragraph, and you have a reflective paragraph. These are the 4 components of an annotation, and Tess has all of these within hers. Let's go back to Tess's example. Here is Tess's second citation. Now I want you to look at the citation. What can you already know about this source just by looking at the citation? First, we know who the author is. Next, we know the title. And we know that it is an article because it's in quotations. We know the journal from which it's from, the volume number, the year, and the page range. So if you found this source to be interesting, you have all the information that you need to go locate the source and read it for yourself. She then begins her first paragraph. This article begins by Coca addressing. Now remember, I just said to make sure that you don't do this. So if you were to see my markup on Tess's paper, you would see me marking through this right here. And I would say Coca addresses the audience doubt. So please make sure that it is the author or the creators that is in the active voice. Again, you see that she is using a quote that she can pull directly into her paper, which is great. However, she does slip out of third person here. She says, Coca then tells us she will be seeing how Wonder Woman has addressed. This should not be the word us. This is not third person. So if she wanted to make this third person, she could say, Coca tells readers she will be. And that's how you could rewrite something into third person. Again, she talks about whether or not the article is relevant. She begins to apply an analytical lens to the text. She notes that it has a feminist slant. She notes the credentials, which is an associate professor. She notes that the person appears very educated. And then she moves into her reflective paragraph. Now, I'll leave it to you to read through Tess's annotated bibliography because it is a great example in regards to formatting. Tess does some wonderful work in summarizing, in analyzing, and in reflecting. It does have some errors, and I noted those errors, and you can view them on the upload that says with teachers' comments on Blackboard. Now that we've looked at Tess's example, let's go look at Stephanie Hart's example as well. Let's look at Tess Payton's annotated bibliography. She does have her page number in her header. You won't be able to see it because my picture is covering it up. And then she does have her name information. The only error is that she doesn't have the period after November. She doesn't have which time and date of class that she's in. She does have annotated bibliography as her title, and then directly underneath that, she does have her thesis statement. Let's read it. Reshaping the definition of feminism, modern society, and popular culture are redefining femininity and masculinity as equal in need, significance, and historical importance. So this is her working tentative thesis statement for Essay 3. So now I know as I go and I read through her sources should be relating to her thesis statement in some way. As you can see, there's a space between her thesis statement and her first citation, and a space between her citation and her first body paragraph. And as you scroll down her example, you do see that she does have her spacing correct. If we look at the first example, she used a popular medium. She used Time magazine. So we do see the author for this article called The Pink Wave. We know which issue of Time to go look in, and we also know the page numbers. Stephanie does a really great job at pulling quotes from her sources that she will later use in her essay, and you can see that right here. So she pulls a statistic, and she remembers to do her in-text citation, that is on page 28, and then she pulls a quote, and she also does her in-text citation to let herself know that it's from page 28. So all she has to do is literally copy and paste from her AB into her Essay 3, and she doesn't have to go back and find this quote. It's already typed out for herself. She already knows what she thinks about this quote. This first paragraph is written in third person, like it is supposed to be. And then she has her second paragraph, which is her analysis paragraph. She does use an active voice. She says author often emphasizes. So she is making sure that the author is the one who's getting credit for the argument. Again, she pulls quotes, which is what I'm looking for in your AB. Here, she's analyzing it for critical lenses. She notes the philosophy of Kantianism. She notes the critical lens of feminism. She also notes that it's dealing with politics and equality. This is perfect. This is exactly what I expect out of Composition 2 students. I'm expecting you to be able to use philosophy and critical lenses and to apply this to your research topic. In her reflective paragraph, she does go into first person, and I really appreciate what she says. Therefore, I realize I have to be careful in my utilization and analysis of author's article. However, I appreciate and enjoy her emotion and enthusiasm as it reflects the current movements in emotions in society's reshaping of feminism. Her analysis of how men in politics are learning to conform is very useful to my thesis of masculinity and femininity coming together as equal and necessary contribution to society. So she notes that author's piece does contain emotive rhetoric, and that she needs to be careful of this emotive rhetoric because she has to discern whether or not the statistics are being used appropriately or whether or not the statistics are being slanted. She likes the use of emotions, so that's telling me as a reader that it's a good read. And she says that it's going to apply to the analysis of men in politics. So this is great reflection work. It's written in first person. She's noting how she can and cannot use it. She's noting where it sits on the continuum of opinion in regards to her own thoughts. This is exactly what I'm asking students to do. If we look at her next citation, we know that we have an article. We know it's from a journal. We have the DOI. What is missing is the access date. So I need to know what day that she accessed it. She doesn't need to have Catherine's first name here because the author's full name is up above in the citation. So we have Bennett writes about the history of Wonder Woman's origins created by William Moulton Marston. And you will notice a little bit further down in the second paragraph, again, she doesn't need Catherine, she only needs the last name Bennett. She does, again, pull quotes that she can use in her Essay 3. And then in her reflective paragraph, she does write in first person. She notes the continuum of opinion, which is perfect This is just what she needs to do. So now that we've been looking at the citations and we've been looking at how the paragraphs are formed, I'm going to scroll down to the outline so that you can take a look at it. So here is her outline. It does have the title outline up at the top. What I do want to point out is that for some reason her thesis statement and her Roman numerals for her outline, they're not lining up perfectly. They're slightly off. So please make sure that you check your outlines to make sure that your hanging indents are appropriate. She does use the Roman numerals for her main paragraphs. She used the capital letters for the main ideas within her paragraphs, and she uses the numeric numbers for the supporting evidence and details within her paragraph. So we can scroll down here and we can see that there are places where she uses full sentences. These are the places that she said in the comments that she wanted me to check. And then as we scroll a little bit further down, we're going to see that she moves into just single words. She didn't feel like she needed as much help with the wording in these sections, but she's showing me how she is ordering her essay so that when she met with me during her conference, I could offer suggestions. And if we keep scrolling down, we will finally come to her conclusion, in which she places her thesis statement again. So as I said in Tessa's example, I will say here again, in your outline, if you're wanting me to look at your sentences because maybe you're having some issues, maybe you're unsure of your word choice, you can write those out. But you don't have to write out full sentences for your entire outline. I do need enough words to know how you're arranging your essay and your critical thinking process for how you're thinking about your essay so that when you meet with me for your conference, I can better guide you and help you with your essay. Please remember that I've uploaded student examples of the research proposals, the annotated bibliographies, and the essay 3 to Blackboard. You can go to Blackboard and look at these examples for further help. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me, ask for a conference. You can also go to the Writing Center for help, and you can look at Al Purdue. Please bear in mind, though, use the formatting for an annotated bibliography that I have provided for you. I look forward to seeing you in class, and I look forward to reading your examples. I'll see you soon.